Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Francisco Cresp, and I'm the co-founder and chief product officer at Neural DSP. Neural DSP was founded with a guiding principle to empower musicians to be more creative. We have been obsessed with authenticity, and over the past 7 years, we have built guitar and bass plugins that have fundamentally changed the way music is written and recorded. If you're a guitarist in 2025, and you have been playing a while or you just started, there's a lot of tools for you. But I just don't play guitar, I sing a bit. And when singing and producing my own vocals, I've always struggled to find tools that turn raw takes into polished studio quality sound. So we asked ourselves a simple question. What if everything you need for vocal production could live in one place without compromise? That's what we'd like to talk about today. This is our brand new plugin, Mantra.
Vocal production is rarely simple. Multiple plugins, complex chains, latency. What if there was an easier way? Mantra. All-in-one vocal production plugin. Mantra provides all the essential tools for modern vocal production, making your workflow smarter, faster, and more musical.
Always love me so much more after I'm long gone, but history is the furthest thing from my mind. I'd rather be with nobody than with somebody who let me be someone to lose. Need somebody who needs me to put their hands on me. After dark, I need you to pray.
Take the long way to stay close to me.
I don't want another, I just wanna breathe. 'Cause you take me higher, you stay close to me.
Stay close to me.
Holla, holla, wait a minute, yeah, I'm back. Got my hands around their neck like I don't know how to act. They can't imitate or replicate what I do, it's a rap, yeah. I'm turning up the price right up, yeah, you can do the math.
You don't get half of me, baby. Wait, no, I don't want you no more.
Stuck inside this cage of mine, if you were only doing right.
I sleep better when you're here. Stay right here, baby. I need every little piece of you, please.
Mantra. All-in-one vocal production plugin.
Mantra is different from other solutions because we wanted to solve the problem in a different way. Not everybody has, €1,000 microphones, and we wanted to allow people to achieve professional results with something that is not expensive or for a live performance or something like that. That was the first thing that we wanted to tackle, and that brings the raw material into a polished, well-sounding vocal right away, simplifying all this EQing and technical work that you need to do to just make it sound good at first. Because then comes all the effects and all of that, and it gets a bit more creative there, right? We solved that problem, I think, really well, and then we wanted to add our technology that we used for amplifiers and pedals, which is this analog emulation technology we have, into other gear, and we brought some of the classic devices that people use in vocals. It flows very naturally and it's super fast to use while not compromising on quality. I think that's the most important point as well. There's plenty of times where tools become really fast to use, but the result is not really what you expect from that effort. So yeah, I think that we have achieved a really nice balance of ease of use, quality, and speed.
Singing should feel simple. It's the most natural instrument. So Mantra embodies that idea, making professional vocal results accessible without needing extensive technical knowledge. So we designed it with layers. If you want fast results, they're right in front of you. But if you want control, it's all there, just one click deeper. At the beginning of every project, we tend to look at the existing products, and we do that very carefully because We're on a very crowded market, of course, like the vocal plugin market and like the mixing plugin market is very populated by a lot of plugins, and most solutions fall into two extremes. Either overly simplified tools with minimal controls, or bloated systems that require deep technical knowledge to even get started. We designed Mantra to bridge that gap, to give artists and singers something fast, intuitive, and powerful enough to rely on every day. We thought that we could do something better that would feel more like a creative tool rather than something that you just use for mixing purposes.
As a singer, I want to grab the mic and just sing, not get lost in plugin chains or routing menus. But most of the time, that's exactly what happens. You load 5 plugins, you route everything, it gets technical, it's slow, it kills momentum.
Most people use a range of different plugins when recording vocals. Typically, a noise gate, an EQ, De-Esser, compressor, saturation, and a limiter. Pitch correction and effects are often added to, and this setup can get cluttered quickly, become hard to manage, and gets pretty expensive. Most of those plugins are designed for mixing too, not tracking, so when you stack them, the latency adds up. That means that you can't hear the final processed sound in real time while you're singing.
I've had all I can take. I've been till I break. If you wanna save me, you're a little too late.
What's up? My name is Nate. I'm an artist from Houston, Texas, and I'm going to be using Neural DSP's new plugin Mantra to track some vocals today.
Tired of feeling like I need a break from running in circles and losing my pace. I should be healing, but I feel the same. Guess it's never gonna go away. I've had all I can take. I've been till I break. If you wanna save me, you're a little too late. I've got in the way of all my mistakes. I'm already drowning and there's no escape. If you wanna hate me, then I'll take the blame. Just give me a reason to push through the pain. I've had all I can take. I've been till I break. If you wanna save me, you're a little too late.
Cool, so we just finished tracking. My normal vocal chain has about 9 plugins going on with 3 different synths, and I can't even monitor while I'm tracking that because of the amount of latency that those other plugins have. And so I actually have to record in my console and just listen back with a couple of compressors and some tuning, and it's not that much of a vibe. So being able to use Mantra with all the stuff that I want to use already integrated into the plugin with no latency is awesome. All right, so I'm gonna go over how I set up tracking mode for me whenever I'm in the studio recording. So whenever you go into the plugin, it's gonna look like this. As you can see, we're in tracking mode. For me personally, when I'm singing, the last thing I wanna hear is a super harsh S or T or P in my ear. Any of those plosives I want out, so we'll go over to the De-Esser and I keep it on medium intensity with the 17% just to cut off all that stuff and give me a bit of a better recording experience. That typically does the trick for me so I can focus on singing and not listening to any of those harsh frequencies in my ear.
If you wanna save me, you're a little too late. If you wanna save me, you're a little too late.
So let's head over to the EQ. Also, when I'm recording, I don't want to hear any muddy frequencies. I don't want to hear any harsh frequencies in my ear. So I typically will take the high pass at about 80 to 90 just to cut off any of the muddiness. I'll boost a little bit around 3 to 4K just to add a bit more clarity. And then I boost the high shelf just a little bit just to give me a little bit more air in my ears. This typically kind of cleans everything up just for now while I'm tracking to make it sound a little bit better.
Just give me a reason to push through the pain. Just give me a reason to push through the pain.
Now we can go over to compression. I definitely like to record with a compressor on just because it kind of makes everything a bit more even and smooth. I don't like stuff when it's too quiet and then jumps to be too loud. This kind of evens it out a little bit. So for me, I put it on stress mode at about 48% on a 10:1 ratio. And after I get a take, I'll dial in the output a little bit just so it can kind of match the level that I'm recording in versus what it puts out because I don't want it to be too loud.
I've had all I can take. I've been till I break. I've had all I can take. I've been till I break.
Saturation is definitely optional when you're tracking, but I use it because it's fun. Personally, I use tape mode at about 26%. I've noticed it just kind of brings my vocals to life a little bit, adds a little bit more in the top end, cuts out some of the mud. I do it at about 174 on the low cut, 53% on the gain, and about 1.2 dB of the output just to kind of match what I have going in.
I'm already drowning and there's no escape. I'm already drowning and there's no escape.
Also optional, but I like to use some effects while I'm recording. It makes it a little bit more fun. So I have the reverb on here. These are the settings I'm using for my reverb for this song. We're using delay too. For this song in specific, I'm using 1/4 delay with 30% feedback and 80% width. I have both of them ducking a little bit. So I have this one ducking at 17% and this one at 10%. That kind of just makes it to where the reverb and the delay aren't starting immediately while I'm recording, because sometimes that can be a little distracting.
If you wanna hate me, then I'll take the blame. If you wanna hate me, then I'll take the blame.
This plugin has already opened up so many doors for me. The last thing you want to do when you feel inspired to record something is have to open up a chain, load all your plugins and all that stuff. For me, Mantra, I have a preset, I open it up, I start recording, everything's smooth. Overall, the plugin is sick. If you're somebody who likes to track vocals that already sound polished and mixed, this plugin is probably going to be the one for you.
I've had all I can take. I've been till I break. If you wanna save me, you're a little too late.
Some of the frustrations were coming from not being able to monitor myself with as little latency as possible. My workflow, and I mean, I'm by no means touring the world or anything like that. I'm just doing music because I like it, right? I usually sing a part of the song that I've written before, and then I just try to record my vocals to see how it would fit with the track, and I try to, tweak around and make it fit into the music so I can feel that this actually works and this melody works or these lyrics work. And then I kind of go to the rest of the track, the verse, maybe the bridge, trying to write the structure. And for that point in time, I want to record myself with the sound that I've just created, or at least something that inspires me to sing in the same mood, right? And I couldn't do that with some other products that were around that were a little bit more complex. They were just consuming too much CPU, and then the light ones were not giving me the sound that I wanted. So I just realized that maybe we could find a way to bring a similar mood in the sound where you can sing and monitor yourself. Because you don't really need the best pristine effect when you're singing. You just need to be able to be in that space, in that world where you're, singing and trying to interpret your lyrics, right? Yeah, I think that the time to play or the time to sing is really important. When you are being creative, you want to remove as many technical obstacles as possible. So when you need to open your session, turn on your computer, and then start, bringing the tracks from your song into the session and create your vocal chain with different products or different plugins and different instances and inserts, it just takes time to tweak those and chain them up, like gain stage them correctly so that everything as a whole makes sense. And I found that having everything together in one window, as far as it delivers sound-wise what you want, it's intuitive enough to use, then you can have everything enclosed in one window, which it speeds up workflow a lot because everything kind of makes sense and everything is designed to work together.
Hey, sister, go, sister, soul, sister, flow, sister.
Hi everyone, John Connon here. Mantra is designed to be your entire vocal chain, reimagined in one plugin. It genuinely gives you everything you need to go from a raw take to a final polished mix effortlessly. Let me show you how I approach mixing vocals with this incredible tool. First, I'll switch from tracking mode to mixing mode to unlock the full resolution processing. Now we're in mixing mode. Let's solo the vocal track and start shaping our sound. First, let's disengage the post-effects section so we can focus purely on the corrective processing. The first thing I always do when mixing vocals is reach for the Sculpt module. This is where Mantra really shines. It's going to analyze Fion's voice and automatically apply an EQ curve that brings out clarity and presence. Let me show you how this works. I'll click Start Analysis and play about 10 seconds of the vocal.
He sat in a
boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free. Get ya, ya, ta-ta.
Look at that. You can see the green curve appearing there in the visualizer. That's the EQ curve Sculpt has created specifically for this vocal. Now listen to the difference.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free.
Hear that instant clarity? The vocal just sits better already. Now, Mantra gives us different target curves to choose from. Let me try a few to see which one works best for this track.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free. Get ya, ya, ta-ta. Get ya, ya, yeah.
I've chosen the modern scooped curve here. It really brings out the presence we need for this pop mix. The beauty is that Sculpt is also doing dynamic spectral processing, taming any harshness automatically. It's honestly doing about 80% of my EQ work in one click. Now that I've chosen my target curve, I'm going to finalize my sound using the EQ and dynamic sliders.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free. Get ya, ya, ta-ta. Get ya, ya, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah. Creole lady marmalade.
Before we look at tuning our vocals, let's use the root and scale drop-down boxes to select the key and scale that our vocals will be tuned to. The melody of this song is in F major, so I'll set the root to F and the scale to major. I'll keep the reference pitch at 440 Hz. Now, onto pitch correction. I don't want to over-process Fion's vocal. She's got great pitch already, so let's dial this in.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free. Get ya, ya, ta-ta. Get ya, ya, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah. Creole lady marmalade.
Listen to how it's just gently pulling any slight pitch drifts into place without making it sound robotic. I've set the attack relatively high so that the correction acts quickly. I've brought tolerance down so that the responsiveness is quick and sensitive to Fion's vocals. I've then offset this with human eyes, keeping that relatively high to retain the inflections and characteristics of Fion's vocal performance. So let's listen to that one more time and A/B the tune module to hear what it's doing.
Get ya, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah.
Now let's clean up any unwanted noise. I can hear a bit of room tone between phrases, so I'll use the gate. We've been hearing the gate with its default settings. Now let's disable the gate to hear what noise is present.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine.
I'll set the opening threshold just above the noise floor and the closing threshold somewhere slightly lower.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street, freshen up. Boys drank all that magnolia wine on her black sand sheets. Sweat started to free. Get ya, ya, ta-ta. Get ya, yeah. Mocha chocolate, yeah.
Now the spaces between phrases are completely clean. Next, I'm hearing some harsh sibilants on the S sounds, which Mantra's De-Esser is perfect for removing. A great feature here is that we can solo the frequencies that are being affected.
He sat in a boot, Wall Street,
Perfect. The S sounds are controlled without losing the air and articulation in the vocal.
The philosophy behind Mantra was mostly to try combining very accurate digital modules and processors with our state-of-the-art analog modeling. What I mean by this is that you will find tools that are very surgical and that are here to do a very specific job. I'm thinking about the De-Esser, about the gate module, and all those very simple DSP blocks. But also, every single other module is built around our modeling technology, so analog devices, with the idea of adding flavor to your tone. So basically, you have everything you need to clean up your vocals, and then later in the chain, you have everything to color your vocals. And that was very important, because usually it's either one approach or the other. While we talked with producers and engineers, we've identified the needs for having very colorful modules with the same technology that we used for capturing guitar amplifiers for a few years, but we had to refine the process to be able to use that same technology to capture compressors and distortion units. So basically, we've taken like the best of what professional mixing engineers used and make them very simple for the end user. And I think that's the best thing that we've achieved. You get a pro signal chain packed with like super powerful modules, really good sounding analog emulation, an amazing harmonizer that usually you would get as a separate plugin, and then amazing studio effects in one single package that can do it all.
Mantra is quite different from all the guitar plugins we've made at Neural. All the guitar plugins usually resembled a normal pedal board or signal chain you would put actually with pieces of hardware. And in this case, the vocal chain is an entirely different concept. We knew that we needed new algorithms to be researched. We knew that we needed a seamless integration with a new UI. And we knew that we needed to obsess over how the entire chain worked and how everything interacted. Vocal signals are really different. There's a huge range of different voices out there. There's a huge range of ways that each voice will actually express and interact and add nuance and add transience. And the way that we express ourselves with our voices varies completely depending on what style of music you're singing and what inflection you're giving to each line. All of this nuance has to be captured in this plugin in a totally different way than our guitar plugins work. Getting great tracking mode was a beast. We wanted low latency and zero artifacts, no distractions, sounding polished. That sort of thing really makes or breaks the vocal take in the studio. People don't really think about plugin latency until it's causing a problem or ruining a moment. We wanted the plugin to feel invisible, so we worked on making it invisible.
Visualization is key to Mantra. We designed the interface to make users feel like they're playing with audio, not just tweaking parameters. We wanted Mantra to be more than usable. We wanted it to invite you in. That's why everything is tidy, fast, and feels like something you want to explore. Not just another plugin with a pretty UI, but something that actually changes how you interact with your sound. Every visual element is there to reinforce what you're hearing, and every interaction is immediate. The main thing, obviously, is still how it sounds. That's paramount. So our core advantage here would be to provide you like a usability paradigm that can make it feel like, oh, this actually adds a lot to my workflow. Like this visual feedback plays into that because it also helps support what the actual sound is, and it keeps you inspired a little bit. That was the intention also, like to keep it playful, to keep it inspiring, and also to keep that personality that all Neural products already have. Just try to take it in a whole new direction because this is a new product, it's a whole new market, so we wanted to try something different as well. We minimize cognitive load by ensuring only one module expands at a time. One of the hardest goals we made was to not let users open every module at once. Like, it sounds great on paper, but in reality, it was a bit overwhelming. The interface stays focused and approachable even for those who are just starting out. We have a predetermined signal chain, which you can interact with right away with a single parameter, which is like, this is the main tone shaper of the module. And you can already get pretty good results with that. But if you want to go deeper, just like click the little module and you will see more, and you can just tweak to your heart's content. And we didn't just build it and hope for the best. So from the very beginning, even before there was any audio, we tested the plugin both internally and externally to validate our ideas, like every step of the way. And every time we found something unintuitive or someone said this part's confusing, we fixed it.
The workflow-first approach means you can simply load Mantra, go through the presets, tweak a few intuitive controls and achieve polished, professional vocals in moments, not hours.
Every module centers around a primary governing parameter. You can achieve excellent results instantly or dive deeper with just one additional click. No complexity, just clarity.
The main idea was that when you open the plugin, somebody without necessarily a deep technical knowledge of vocal processing should be able to get very good results as quickly as possible. So if you open Mantra, first you see like an empty screen with something that prompts you to just start the analysis for the Sculpt module. And the Sculpt module is really what gets you started with the plugin. So you hit analysis, you wait for 7 seconds, and then all of a sudden it just shifts the tonal balance of your vocals. It sounds already very produced. Then you can just browse through a bunch of presets, adjust those quick controls, and you're there. It just sounds great. But then if you want to go deeper, you just have to click on any module and it will expand and unveil more parameters, more controls.
Vocal signals are extremely dynamic. It's not just the changes in volume and pitch, but also different articulations and transients, sibilants, and lots of nuances that are shifting constantly. It was really important for us to develop high-quality vocal pitch trackers, as well as pitch informant shifters that make the tune and harmony modules. We also needed a new high-fidelity limiter, and a more reactive gate, and a really natural-sounding vocal doubler. In some cases, we were modeling tube hardware in order to replicate their iconic sound. In other cases, we used the hardware as inspiration to create brand new effects for de-essing and tape saturation. Our algorithm designers also thought totally outside the box to create the new Sculpt module and vocal bit crusher effects. And because we wanted the users to see what was happening in real time, all these blocks had to communicate really smoothly and closely with the UI.
So we had to make a layer of connection between the DSP and the UI. The UI would reproduce it in a visual form, basically converting numbers into a nice colorful image, which is informative to the user.
We really had to up our game with testing in this plugin. We needed to try lots of different platforms, lots of different computers and laptops, different types of mics, different types of vocal signals. There's a huge range of possibilities, and we needed to make sure that the plugin works really well, really seamless on all of them.
The UI wasn't just an afterthought, it was part of the architecture. We wanted every visual element to mean something. Waveforms aren't just eye candy, they tell you exactly what's happening. You have compression curves, the spread of the harmonies, Sculpt EQ, all designed to help you see the result of what you're hearing. That feedback loop is what makes it feel like you're playing with the sound and not just adjusting it. We are covering a number of different types of user here, different levels of expertise and knowledge. So we can see all of the different metering we have as both a hard requirement for somebody with a lot of expertise. They're used to metering. They need to get accurate readings of what's happening. but also as an entry point for someone with not a lot of experience. So we worked really hard on getting all of the metering accurate and as usable as possible.
The analog side was its own kind of monster. We weren't just copying gear. We were trying to understand what makes it musically expressive. The units themselves are so responsive and behave differently depending on how hard you push them or how fast the transients are. So we had to model that behavior in a way that felt and sounded right.
When we say Mantra sounds analog, it means that every single one of the modules that's in there is modeled after some piece of analog equipment, taking into account every one of the subtleties that that piece brings. That will be reproduced.
I think in this case, the fact that it was going outside of just guitars and bass, so a big part of it was we want it to sound great for vocals. But then hearing about the history of these devices from the validators and the experts that we have in the company, you really learned about how pivotal these have been in music history in general and how important they are to production in general. So I felt like that is where we started thinking about, okay, well, vocals is one thing, but can we faithfully recreate the device for anything? So that really became like an avenue for exploration and where we really started digging into kind of focus on this aspect of generalization of how well can these models generalize to things that maybe we hadn't intended them for. So that was a big part of it, I think, is really pushing the limits of how we tested these devices. I think we tried them with a lot of different things, and we were really happy with how they turned out.
Take the Culture Volture. It's not just distortion, it's a dynamic saturation that changes with the phrasing of the vocal. But we have to replicate that curve, how it's soft and transient, how it adds colors without washing everything out. The same with the LA2A. There's a point where it stops acting like a compressor and start becoming part of the performance, and we keep that in. I think that's why we keep using that old equipment that was designed 70 years ago, because it adds something to the sound that is rich, and we like that.
Even subtle imperfections, the differentiating characteristics of the different devices we modeled, made it onto this plugin, which is always our goal when we do this type of modeling. It's not necessarily that people want to use a distressor or an LA2A, they have their distressor or their LA2A. So what we've tried to design is a system that builds off of finding the best sounding analog gear we can, and then building our models from that, with no corner cutting, no interpretations. It's just from data to sound and being able to reproduce that. I think that's where we really shine, and that's where those inconsistencies are the things that we're bringing to life. And it makes something go from, to take a visual analogy, from 2D to 3D. It really brings that depth. So I think that's what we strive for.
Sculpt was one of the hardest modules to get right. It's not just an EQ or a compressor, it's a dynamic shaper that lifts detail and texture in a way that feels transparent. We wanted it to work no matter what mic or voice you're working with, so we built it to react differently depending on the tonal profile of your input.
There's something of expensive productions that they are so difficult to get. It's something that is not really in the vocal. I mean, if you're in the same room with the singer, it doesn't sound that good. But when it goes through this process, it becomes magical. I mean, that's something really difficult to replicate with cheaper equipment. And I think with Mantra, we can get very close to that. I remember the first time that I ran a dry vocal through the chain, and it just clicked. Not because of any effect, but because everything worked together to support the performance. I'd run a take through the chain, and suddenly it felt like it was part of the song. So when I hear that, that was the moment that, okay, we have something here that is not out there in other products, that I cannot easily get. And that's, I think, what makes this plugin special.
One of the biggest challenges was preserving detail through each stage of the signal chain, going through sculpt, saturation, dynamics, effects. Everything has to pass signal with as little degradation as possible while still adding character.
Something magical happened once Mantra left our hands and landed in real sessions. People started to use it in ways we never really imagined.
The focus was, of course, vocals. But as we started modeling the different devices, we started getting more and more ambitious with what these models could handle. Be it instruments, synths, drums, or even these really crazy chaotic signals that we came up with, it all translated really well through the chain. The fact that the models can generalize outside of signals what we intended them to be used for is a key tenet of why deep learning really works.
Yeah, that's the fun part, when people use things that you have designed for a certain purpose and they turn them around and use them for something different that comes out of creativity, right? That generates fresh music and fresh art in general. In my opinion, that's how you change things a little bit and check them up to find something new. I think that there's a little bit of risk there that is part of the fun, right? Like when you're having a guitar pedal and you connect it to a synthesizer, or you use a studio reverb on an acoustic guitar, or I don't know, like some exploratory work. And I'm sure that people will find very creative ways to use Mantra, and I can't wait to see what people do with it. Mantra represents quite a big change in our mindset. I think that we all love to play guitar. I think that 90% of the people that work with us play guitar or bass or some instrument, but guitar is really popular. But there's a lot of people in there as well that produce music. They make their own songs or sometimes cover songs, like they use a DAW, they use other tools for other purposes. And there's a lot of singers as well. And I think that we always wanted to make products for music creators, that being musicians that record themselves making demos, or engineers that their life is in the studio and that's how they earn a living. We always wanted to empower people to be more creative and just to make more music. And I think that guitar, even though it's very close to our heart and we play guitar a lot, I think it's interesting to explore other areas of music production that are not just the guitar instrument, vocals being one of them. Everybody sings. Maybe you just don't like how you sing, but everybody sings. So I think it's, in a way, is the most popular instrument out there, right?
The way we wanted to approach Mantra from the get-go was something that is playful, inspiring, creative, like even times a little bit cheeky as well. We didn't want Mantra to feel like software. You're not operating it, you're playing it. Every visual, every interaction was built to keep you in that creative flow. If it feels like it disappears while you're working, we did our job right.
I hope that people find what they were looking for. I've talked to a lot of people that produce vocals, and there's a lot of complicated workflows and a lot of expensive equipment, and not everybody can afford that. And even if you can, the workflow might not be optimal for what you do. When you're producing tracks with, hundreds of tracks of choirs and vocals, maybe you just don't have enough analog gear to run it through, or you don't have analog gear whatsoever, right? But I think that Mantra is a very nice tool that I hope people find in order to make their vocals sound great with minimal friction and enjoyment. I think that it's really fun to use, and that's one of the biggest points. Like, I love to load the plugin in my session, and it just looks great. It's inspiring, it sounds awesome, everything that I do just works out. It's exactly what I needed. And I've been hearing this from a lot of people as well. It's like, I've replaced everything that I've done with Mantra, and it's like, it's now on my drum bus and on my, strings bus and, everywhere. Hundreds of instances of the plugins for people that can run it, right? That's the beauty of software. If your computer can hold it, go for it. Be creative, use it somewhere else. Go nuts.